It was a cool October morning. Flight Pacific Horizon 318 was scheduled to depart Seattle for San Diego. The aircraft was a modern Boeing 787 Dreamliner. Registration N781PH. A 6-year-old aircraft with an outstanding safety record. Captain Daniel Reeves had over 12,000 flight hours. First Officer Melissa Grant had logged nearly 5,000. The cabin crew consisted of 8 experienced flight attendants, led by Senior Purser Linda Morno. There were 246 passengers on board. Families returning from vacations, business travelers, college students, a retired Navy couple celebrating 40 years together, and one quiet woman, traveling alone, holding seat 7C. Her boarding pass simply read, Emily Carter. No VIP status. No special requests. No checked baggage. She boarded quietly, placed a small backpack under the seat, fastened her seatbelt, put on noise-canceling headphones, closed her eyes. Within minutes, she was asleep. Outside, thin clouds drifted over the Pacific Northwest. Visibility exceeded 20 miles. Winds were light. Every weather report promised an uneventful flight. It looked like another routine day in commercial aviation. But hidden inside one flight computer, a tiny software fault had already begun its countdown. Scene 1, a routine departure. Narration. Passengers settled into their seats while the cabin filled with ordinary sounds. Luggage bins closed. Children laughed. Coffee cups rattled. Captain Reeves welcomed everyone aboard. His voice carried the confidence of someone who had flown this route hundreds of times. Everything appeared exactly as expected. Emily never opened her eyes. She remained asleep, completely unaware that she would soon become the most important passenger on the airplane. Pilot dialogue. Captain. Before start checklist. First Officer. Checklist complete. Captain. Clear left. First Officer. Engine 1 stable. Captain. Engine 2 stable. ATC dialogue. Ground. Pacific Horizon 318, taxi runway 16 left. Captain. Taxi 16 left, Pacific Horizon 318. Passenger reactions. Passengers barely noticed the taxi. Some continued reading. Others connected to onboard Wi-Fi. A little boy pressed his face against the window. Everything felt peaceful. Technical explanation. Modern airliners perform hundreds of automatic self-checks before departure. Almost every major system reports its status to the pilots. This morning, every indication appeared normal, but one sensor was already producing tiny timing errors. Too small to trigger a warning. Too important to ignore later. Suspense ending. As the aircraft approached the runway, one hidden computer quietly recorded its first unexpected fault. No one noticed. Scene 2, climb into the morning sky. Narration. The Dreamliner accelerated smoothly. 80 knots. V1. Rotate. The nose lifted. Seattle disappeared beneath scattered clouds. The aircraft climbed gracefully toward its cruising altitude. Passengers applauded softly as sunlight poured through the cabin windows. Emily remained asleep. Pilot dialogue. Captain. Positive rate. First Officer. Gear up. Captain. Autopilot engaged. A soft chime confirmed the system had taken control. ATC dialogue. Departure. Pacific Horizon 318. Climb flight level 390. Captain. Climb flight level 390. Passenger reactions. Breakfast service began. Children watched cartoons. Business travelers opened laptops. No one imagined anything unusual. Technical explanation. Autopilot doesn't fly independently. It follows instructions generated by multiple computers using sensor information from across the aircraft. If those sensors disagree, the computers must decide which information is trustworthy. Suspense ending. Deep inside the avionics bay, two computers suddenly disagreed, only for a fraction of a second. Then it happened again. Scene 3, the first warning. Narration. Nearly 40 minutes into the flight, Captain Reeves noticed something unusual. The aircraft gently drifted off course. The autopilot corrected, then disconnected. A warning tone echoed. The cockpit became noticeably quieter. No one spoke for several seconds. Pilot dialogue. Captain, that's strange. First officer, I've got the aircraft. Captain, re-engaging autopilot. Click. 5 seconds. Disconnect. Captain, no joy. ATC dialogue. ATC. Pacific Horizon 318, verify heading. Captain, stand by. Passenger reactions. A few passengers felt slight turbulence. Most assumed they were crossing rough air. Emily shifted slightly in her seat, but continued sleeping. Technical explanation. Autopilot automatically disconnects whenever it determines it cannot safely trust the flight data it receives. This protects the aircraft from following incorrect commands. The problem was discovering why. Suspense ending. Then another warning appeared. One no crew member expected to see. Flight control computer disagree. Scene 4, the unexpected call. Narration. Captain Reeves declared a systems emergency and requested priority handling. While the crew worked through electronic checklists, an unfamiliar radio transmission broke through. It wasn't from civilian air traffic control. It carried a military call sign. Everyone in the cockpit looked at each other. Pilot dialogue. Captain, who's transmitting on guard? Unknown voice. Pacific Horizon 318, this is Army Guardian Flight. Captain, Guardian Flight, go ahead. Unknown voice. Confirm passenger Emily Carter is on board. Captain, how do you know that name? Silence. Then, wake her up now. ATC dialogue. Center, Pacific Horizon 318, we're also receiving that transmission. Captain, Center, we have no idea what's happening. Passenger reactions. Flight attendants exchanged confused looks. One of them slowly walked toward row 7. Seat 7C. The woman was still asleep. Technical explanation. In this fictional story, Emily is a former flight control software engineer who participated in certification testing for the aircraft's flight management architecture. Military test organizations recognize her because she previously worked on joint safety evaluations involving both civilian and military avionics. Suspense ending. As the flight attendant gently touched Emily's shoulder, the aircraft suddenly rolled sharply to the left. The warning alarms erupted, and Captain Reeves shouted, "I need manual control now." To be continued. Make P2. Part 2, the autopilot failed. Black HAWKSRADIOED. Wake her up now. Scene 5, the woman in seat 7C. Narration. The aircraft lurched violently. Coffee splashed across tray tables. Overhead bins rattled. Several passengers screamed as the Dreamliner rolled nearly 20 degrees before Captain Reeves forced the wings level. Inside the cockpit, warning chimes blended into a constant chorus. Every few seconds, another caution appeared. The electronic checklist kept growing longer. Captain Reeves had flown through severe storms. He had handled engine failures. He had even survived a bird strike during takeoff years earlier. But this felt different. The airplane wasn't refusing to fly. It was refusing to trust itself. Meanwhile, flight attendant Sarah Collins hurried toward row 7. Seat 7C. The young woman sleeping beside the window barely reacted. Sarah gently shook her shoulder. "Ma'am, I need you to wake up." Emily slowly opened her eyes. She looked around in confusion. "What happened?" Sarah hesitated. "The captain needs to speak with you." Emily blinked. "The captain?" Immediately, the calm expression on Emily's face vanished. Pilot dialogue. "Captain Reeves." Manual controls are responding, barely. First Officer Grant. "I'm getting another flight control disagreement." "Captain." "Hydraulics." First Officer. "Normal." "Captain." "Engines." First Officer. "Normal." "Captain." "So why is the airplane fighting us?" ATC dialogue. Seattle Center. Pacific Horizon 318, radar shows altitude fluctuations. Are you declaring an emergency? Captain. Affirmative, we are declaring Pan-Pan. Stand by for possible Mayday. ATC. Roger, you have priority handling. Passenger reactions. Passengers looked out the windows nervously. Some reached for airsickness bags. Parents wrapped their arms around frightened children. No one knew why the cabin crew suddenly surrounded seat 7C. People began whispering. "Who is she?" Technical explanation. In modern aircraft, several independent flight control computers compare information continuously. If one computer begins disagreeing with the others, the system attempts to isolate the faulty source. But if multiple computers begin rejecting each other's data, automation becomes unreliable, forcing the pilots to fly manually. Suspense ending. Emily stood up. The moment she heard the words, "Flight control computer disagree," the color drained from her face. "I know that warning," she whispered. Scene 6, her secret. Narration. Inside the forward galley, Captain Reeves connected through the interphone. Emily listened carefully. Every alarm in the cockpit echoed through the handset. Her breathing slowed. Not from fear. From recognition. 5 years earlier, she had been one of the lead software validation engineers for an advanced flight control update. Most of her work had remained classified because parts of the safety architecture were shared with military research programs. Very few people outside the aviation industry even knew those tests existed. Captain Reeves finally asked, "How do you know our warning messages before I finish reading them?" Emily answered quietly, "Because I helped write the emergency logic." The cockpit became silent. Pilot dialogue. "Captain, you worked on this airplane." Emily, "I worked on one version of its software." Captain, "Can you help us?" Emily, "I'll try." ATC dialogue. Center. Pacific Horizon 318, military aircraft are requesting coordination. Captain, approved. Passenger reactions. Passengers noticed Emily speaking calmly into the cabin phone. Some assumed she was another pilot. Others believed she worked for the airline. Nobody guessed the truth. Technical explanation. Aircraft manufacturers regularly use engineers during certification flights. Although engineers do not normally assist during airline emergencies, someone deeply familiar with a system's logic might recognize unusual failure patterns. Suspense ending. Emily asked one question. "Captain, what software revision are you running?" The answer made her eyes widen. Scene 7. Black HAWKs arrive. Narration. Far below, two Army Black Hawks cross the coastline on a routine communications evaluation mission. Their onboard systems had already received emergency coordination requests. The helicopters could not repair the airliner. They could not escort it all the way to its destination. But their communications package could relay secure information unavailable through normal civilian frequencies. Moments later, their voices returned. Calm. Professional. Pacific Horizon 318. Guardian Flight has secure engineering data for Emily Carter. Captain Reeves could hardly believe what he was hearing. Pilot dialogue. Captain. Emily, they're asking for you. Emily. Put them through. Guardian Flight. Emily, this is Guardian Lead. Emily. I hear you. Guardian Lead. The anomaly matches simulation case 7. Emily closed her eyes. Oh no. ATC dialogue. ATC. Pacific Horizon 318. Military coordination approved. Captain. Roger. Passenger reactions. Passengers noticed military helicopters far below through the left side windows. Phones appeared. Pictures were taken. Rumors spread through the cabin. Technical explanation. Military aircraft sometimes assist civilian emergencies by relaying communications or supporting search and rescue coordination. In this fictional story, the Black Hawks serve as secure communication relays because of Emily's prior work on a joint research program. Suspense ending. Emily quietly said, "If I'm right, the next failure happens in less than 3 minutes." Scene 8. The second failure. Narration. 2 minutes. 30 seconds. The cockpit remained tense. Nobody spoke unnecessarily. Every instrument was watched. Every vibration mattered. Then, a loud warning sounded. The aircraft suddenly pitched downward. Passengers screamed. Loose objects flew through the cabin. Captain Reeves gripped the control column with both hands. The airplane fought back. Emily listened through the interphone. "Don't disconnect anything," she shouted. "Leave computer 2 online." First Officer Grant stared at the display. "How did you know?" Emily didn't answer. She was already thinking 3 steps ahead. Pilot dialogue. Captain. Power set. First Officer. Pitch stabilizing. Captain. I've got it. Emily. No. The airplane has it. You're negotiating with it. ATC dialogue. Center. Pacific Horizon 318. Radar indicates rapid altitude loss. Captain. Recovering now. Passenger reactions. The cabin fell silent after the dive. Many passengers began praying. Others held strangers' hands. For the first time, everyone understood. This was not turbulence. Something was seriously wrong. Technical explanation. A faulty flight control computer can send conflicting information to automated systems. Well-trained pilots rely on manual flying skills, checklists, and crew coordination to stabilize the aircraft while identifying the underlying problem. Scene 19. The safe landing. Narration. The runway lights stretched across the evening like a narrow ribbon of hope. After nearly 2 hours of battling a malfunctioning flight control system, Captain Daniel Reeves had one chance to bring Pacific Horizon Flight 318 safely back to Earth. The aircraft was now fully under manual control. There would be no autopilot, no automatic flare, no computerized landing assistance. Every correction depended on the captain's hands and the crew's teamwork. The first officer continuously called out altitude. 1,000 feet, stable. The cabin fell silent. Even the crying children had stopped. Everyone looked toward the windows. Everyone knew this was the moment that would decide their fate. Emily stood quietly behind the cockpit door with a flight attendant, listening. She didn't say another word. She had already given the crew everything she knew. Now, it was up to them. # pilot dialogue. First Officer Grant *. 500. Captain Reeves *. Landing checklist complete. First Officer *. 400 on profile. Captain *. Continuing. First Officer *. Minimums. Captain *. Landing. The runway rushed closer. 10 feet. 5. 3. The Dreamliner touched down with a firm but controlled landing. Smoke rose briefly from the tires. Reverse thrust roared. Brakes engaged. The aircraft slowed. Then, for the first time in nearly 2 hours, it came to a complete stop. # ATC dialogue. Tower *. Pacific Horizon 318, welcome back. Captain Reeves *. Tower, we're safely on the ground. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then the tower controller quietly replied, "Outstanding job, Captain." # Passenger reactions. The cabin erupted into applause. Some passengers cried openly. Others hugged complete strangers. Parents kissed their children. Several flight attendants wiped tears from their eyes. Emily simply sat back down in seat 7C. She closed her eyes again. Not to sleep, but to finally breathe. # Technical explanation. Modern airliners are designed with multiple redundant systems. Even if automation becomes unavailable, pilots are trained to safely fly and land the aircraft manually using fundamental flying skills, crew coordination, and established emergency procedures. # Suspense ending. Everyone believed the emergency was over. But investigators were about to discover something nobody expected. # Scene 20, the investigation. # Narration. Within hours, investigators downloaded the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder. Thousands of aircraft parameters were analyzed. Every switch movement, every warning, every radio transmission, every second of the flight. The investigation revealed that a rare software timing conflict had caused several flight control computers to reject valid sensor data. The aircraft itself was mechanically healthy. The problem wasn't broken hardware. It was logic, a sequence of events so uncommon that it had never before occurred during normal airline operations. Emily's knowledge didn't magically repair the airplane. Instead, her familiarity with the system's behavior helped the crew understand what they were seeing, allowing them to avoid actions that could have complicated the situation further. The captain's skill, the first officer's discipline, the cabin crew's professionalism, and effective communication with air traffic control ultimately brought the aircraft safely home. The fictional Black Hawk coordination highlighted the importance of information sharing during complex emergencies. # Investigation findings. The final report concluded. The flight crew managed the emergency in accordance with sound airmanship. Crew resource management, CRM, was a decisive factor. Manual flying proficiency remained essential despite advanced automation. The software anomaly was identified, corrected, and incorporated into future updates. No passengers suffered life-threatening injuries. Epilogue. 6 months later, Captain Daniel Reeves returned to the cockpit. His first flight after the incident ended with passengers thanking him as they left the aircraft. First Officer Melissa Grant became a simulator instructor, helping train pilots to handle automation failures with confidence. Emily Carter quietly returned to engineering, contributing to improvements that would make future aircraft even safer. She never sought interviews. She never wrote a book. To most travelers, she remained simply the woman in seat 7C. The passengers of Flight 318 would always remember that terrifying day. Not because they came close to disaster, but because they witnessed extraordinary professionalism, calm decision-making, and teamwork under pressure. Final message. Commercial aviation remains one of the safest forms of transportation in the world because every incident is studied, every lesson is shared, and every improvement helps protect future flights. Technology is powerful. Automation is remarkable. But when systems fail, training, communication, discipline, and teamwork remain the greatest safety systems ever built. Sometimes heroes wear captain's stripes. Sometimes they wear a flight attendant's uniform. And sometimes they quietly board in seat 7C asterisk, hopping for nothing more than an ordinary flight. Yet when history called, she answered. The end.